I've said it many times, but the way that Donald Trump intends on winning this election is by getting people to forget something we're going to watch here. A critical era of his presidency. Pretend like that didn't happen is sort of the way he's hoping that people will analyze the political events of the day. And before I play the first clip, and we'll look at a lot, the background of how I stumbled across this was, I've told you before, because I, for the show, have to pull up a lot of MAGA content. I got to go to clips from MAGA accounts that are posting Trump speeches or different MAGA interviews. And so it sends the wrong messages to my Twitter, for example, in this case, where X thinks that I want to be suggested a lot of MAGA content, and it's really driving me crazy. Which part of why I get really irritated preparing for the show some days. And I came across a clip that a MAGA person posted of Trump that really demonstrates two big points. The first is the one I started with, which is if we actually dive into the clip that this individual posted and the broader context, and remember that time, it's devastating for Trump. But if we, for a moment, look through the lens that this MAGA person's looking through, you at least get some insight, sort of, into why it could be that adults are buying the nonsense of Donald Trump. So this guy's name is Steve 2A for Second Amendment. Wait, let me give this to you fully. Oh my gosh, this is something else. American flag, Steve, Second Amendment, American flag, God, American flag, family, American flag, country, American flag is the full name. And the username is Lake Monster CL1. Okay? So this person who has God and family in their name are often the people sending us the most insane DMs. I'm going to bash your head against whatever. And I'm thinking, wait, God and family? What? That's not what you're supposed to stand for. Stop it. Stop acting. Stop overcompensating for the bad stuff that you feel inside by projecting that. But anyways, he captioned this. He always pulls out the receipts. Chris Wallace, I think you're fake news, and I think most people believe that. And because I played this clip, I got suggested this same clip over and over again, so I guess it's going viral on MAGA media, or MAGA social media, of all of these MAGA accounts saying, yes, Trump brings the receipts, he fact checks people, hell yeah. Second Amendment, American flag, God, American flag, family, American flag, country, American flag. If you enjoy this show, please do click that subscribe button. Easy, free, simple, but makes all the difference. Back to the video.
I think it's the opposite. I think we have one of the lowest mortality rates in the world. We're going to take a look.
We had 900 deaths on a single day.
We will take a look.
This week.
Ready?
You can check it out.
Could you please get me the mortality rate?
Yeah.
Kaylee's right here. I heard we had one of the lowest, maybe the lowest mortality rate anywhere in the world. Do you have the numbers, please? Because I heard we had the best mortality rate.
The case data similarly situated countries, as Dr. Burks points out, and this is
Number one low mortality rate. I hope you show the scenario because it shows what fake news is all about. Okay,
I don't think I'm fake news, but
So if you're someone who has put on the MAGA glasses and has looked through them for so many years that you don't even remember that you put on the glasses, so you just think you're seeing the world normally, but really you have those lenses over your eyes, you look at that clip and you see Trump brutally fact-checking fake news Chris Wallace. When in reality, what Trump was doing was being handed a piece of paper that meant nothing. And that will be demonstrated in one of the next clips that I show you. Which is Trump, during the era of the pandemic, lying over and over, saying we had the best mortality rate when we had one of the worst, in part because of his mismanaging. In that moment, MAGA said, no, we're not experiencing worse things because of Trump's mismanaging. It's other reasons. But since then, it's been studying that's exactly why so many extra people died than needed to. It was our government not responding as it should have, led by Donald Trump. Even people who worked alongside him, like Deborah Birx, have said things to that effect. So, because I guess this MAGA guy doesn't have the motivation to go fact check if anything was on that paper that was real, that seemed like an awesome, hot moment where Trump just crushes Chris Wallace. When in reality, he was very much not. And then you have this doozy.
There are those that say you can test too much. You do know that.
Who says that?
Oh, just read the manuals, read the books.
Manuals?
Read the
What
books.
manuals?
Read the books.
What books?
What testing does
Who- no, I'm
is
sorry,
it shows, wait a minute,
who
John,
said-
let me explain. What testing does, it shows cases. It shows where there may be cases.
I've covered you for a long time. I've gone to your rallies. I've talked to your people. They love you. They listen to you. They listen to every word you say. They hang on your every word. They don't listen to me or the media or Fauci. They think we're fake news. They want to get their advice from you. And so when they hear you say everything's under control, don't worry about wearing masks, I mean, these are people, many of them are older people,
What's
Mr.
your
President.
definition of control? Yeah, under the
It's giving them a false sense of
right
security.
now, I think it's under control. I'll tell you what.
How? 1,000 Americans are dying a day.
They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is. But that doesn't mean we aren't doing everything we can. When I took over, we didn't even have a test. Now, in all fairness,
Why would you have a test?
There was no test.
The virus
for
didn't
this.
exist. How would you have a
Excuse me, I was
test?
going to say.
Okay. Death is going up now.
Okay, no,
and it's
no.
1,000 a day.
If you look at death.
Yeah, it's
okay,
going
let's
up
look.
again.
Let's look.
Daily death.
Take a look at some of these charts.
I'd love to.
We're going to look.
Let's look.
And if you look at death,
Yeah. It's started to go up
here's
again.
one. Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than
We're
the
lower
world.
than Europe.
In what?
Please, America. Don't do it. Don't do it again. I can't handle it. You can't handle it. We can't handle it. Oh, no. I haven't watched this in so long. We have less deaths than the world. Yeah. That's true. Good job, Donald.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
you can't do that. You have
Why
to go,
can't I do that?
You have to go by you have to go by where look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. The cases
Why
are
not
there.
as a proportion of
when
population?
We have somebody what it says is when you have somebody that
Yeah.
has where there's a case,
Oh, okay.
the people that live
Sure.
from
Oh.
those cases.
It's surely a relevant statistic to say if the US has X population and X percentage of death of that population
No,
versus
because you
South
have to
Korea.
go by the cases.
Well, look at South Korea, for example. 50.
Yeah, okay. So, I'll stop that one there, but isn't it interesting that his whole argument is the only reason it looks like we have the mortality rate that we do or more cases is because we test more, but the way that you would see past discrepancies in cases because of testing would be to just compare deaths compared to the population of the country you're talking about. If you're comparing nation to nation, that would be a way to make sure this isn't just a difference in how much tests are being done. But his argument relies on, but then he's saying, but flip it around whenever we're doing deaths. Flip it, flop it, flip it, and then you'll get my point. If we just turn all the graphs upside down, we're doing great. Wow. I know many of you lived through that. Why did I say many of you? Unless we got some babies in our audience. Everyone lived through that. But what I mean is some of you were actively engaging with political content when that happened. So it's bringing back this, probably, as it just did for me. But what I want us to remember is, number one, that era, those interviews when Trump would go, well, I have a piece of paper here that says Trump is doing best on everything. So that's my data. I don't know about you, Chris Wallace, freak, but I have my data, so we're good. And MAGA would take those clips and go, nailed it, hoorah. When it didn't at all yield that. No. Your takeaway is bad. That's crazy. Okay, that's a rational person's takeaway. Oh no, that's our president. Here's a little more from the Chris Wallace interview.
whole European Union.
They don't test. They don't test like
Is it
we
possible
test.
that they don't have the virus as badly
No,
as
it's
we do?
possible that they don't test. That's what's possible. We find cases, and many of those cases heal automatically. We're finding, in a way, we're creating trouble.
A lot of people say this is because we don't have a national plan. You talk about states. We don't have a national plan. Do you take responsibility for that?
Look, I take responsibility always for everything because it's ultimately my job, too. I have to get everybody in line. Some governors have done well. Some governors have done poorly.
I forgot how just diminished he looked there. I did just get in, by the way, as per my previous point about Trump showing quote unquote data during these interviews, and he'd whip out a piece of paper. I do have on this cellular device, you see the logo? You want a logo on your phone, you can get one at lukebeasleymerch.com. But so it's official, right? Because I'm looking on a phone screen, and it says, here's a stat that Jaden just found on his notes app. You're the most subscribed to political commentator in the world. Look at that. We did it. No, but that's as legitimate of a case as the one that Trump was making there. So I say again, the reason first is I wanted you to get, because a lot of you don't exist in MAGA social media, which is great. Yay. Your heart rate is probably way healthier. Your blood pressure, that is. And I'm grateful for that for you. But when people say to me, but why would anyone buy a single thing that Trump says? I also have the answer of, I don't know. But if we try a little bit to understand, if you're just living your life, someone you think you trust posts a video and it's, this is the only clip you need to see from the whole interview, and trust me, what was on that piece of paper definitely wasn't a smiley face. It was strong, hard data. Then maybe you think, all right, Trump nailed it. So that's the type of stuff that gets released on social media, making people believe things that aren't true, and much more. We've seen the things they'll do with Kamala Harris. Recently, we caught him. Ron Filipkowski caught a MAGA account posting clips of Kamala Harris that were slowed down to about 80% speed. So just slow enough where it didn't seem like she was talking slow motion, but it sounded like she was just sort of inebriated. It's just a little bit of a slowed down. And then they said Kamala Harris is drunk, and they posted that video at 80%. But then when you speed it back up to its normal 100%, which you can find on the original broadcast of the speech, it sounded normal. So, and it didn't sound like she was inebriated. So it's stuff like that. And yes, false things get posted in either direction, but you definitely have a uniquely unfactual social media bubble within MAGA that is scary. And it's why I really want us as a movement, and us as especially online social media that is wherever you place us politically exactly. I want us to really care about never sacrificing fact for ideology, because it's a vicious cycle and you very quickly turn into what MAGA has become, and people are completely misinformed, unfortunately. Let me know what you thought about that flashback. Don't forget, actually come back to this camera. I was about to wrap it up. Don't forget that this was my second big point, or my first big point. This is what Trump is wanting people to forget, that he mismanaged the pandemic. I won't go through my whole rant again, but about how the social media, the public health crisis, the crime crisis, and the economic crisis, and the democracy crisis, that's what he left us, was just crises on all fronts. And somehow they're going, were you better off 4 years ago? Because 4 years ago was better than what it is now. And they're acting like 4 years ago we weren't in the middle of this terrible disaster that he was mismanaging, and that, according to the data, hundreds of thousands of people died because of the mismanagement that didn't have to. And we cannot allow the moment when his leadership was really tested and he failed to be omitted from his record because, I don't know, not the pandemic, other stuff. It's not accurate because we've been judging Biden-Harris on the pandemic aftermath related things they're dealing with. Inflation, hello? Crime plummeting, but it starting at the beginning of the administration high because of where Trump handed it to them. They get judged on everything. Gas prices, anything that was a aftermath of the pandemic, they got judged for, but Trump's never judged for. It's very strange and inaccurate, like I said. Now I'll look at this camera. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Support the show by clicking that join button below.